I love to take things apart like a broken television set and build something out of it. So I was always I like to call it I was always a creator. Always love to invent things.
Welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Just sit back, relax, and learn from the leaders of today. It's a journey. Each one is different, unique, inspiring. Let's get started. This episode is powered by J Ventures, a community-driven VC fund in Silicon Valley, in partnership with Volumetric, and sponsored by Homeward Ventures, Hippo Insurance, Upwest, Hillel at Stanford, Leap, and Birthright Excel. Welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. I'm joined today by Aviv Shapira, the co-founder and CEO of XTEND. Aviv is an aerospace engineer and holds 2 Emmy Awards for the best broadcasting technology of 2013 and 2015. He co-founded Replay Technologies, which invented a new volumetric video format that has been used at major sports events around the world. After winning 2 Emmy Awards, Replay was acquired by Intel in 2016. Today, he is the CEO of XTEND in the field of extended reality, which aims to give people the ability to fly through an immersive experience using VR and drones. Aviv Shapira, welcome to 20-Minute Leaders from XTEND. How are you?
I'm doing great. What's up?
Thank you so much for being here. You're working on some of the coolest technologies there are, looking at the extended ability of humans to do things that we weren't able to do before. Your entrepreneurial experience began from the age of 10, where you were running different businesses. You managed along the way to sell your company Replay to Intel, won, I believe, 2 Emmy Awards. You broke a satellite, and now you're continuing to work on some pretty crazy technologies. So thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here. Did I capture just a little bit of what you've done?
Yeah, as you mentioned, life is not boring at all. It's very interesting.
That's what it sounds like.
Trying
Now,
to keep it
Aviv,
real.
before we go back to your journey, and I want to hear all about breaking satellites and being a 10-year-old entrepreneur, XTEND, give me a few words about XTEND and how you're looking at the extended and the extensive reality that we might be living in the future.
So basically, as we see the future with everything going on with COVID and everything going on with the internet, the whole world getting smaller and more accessible, we think that humans will be able in the future to actually interact with remote realities with a machine. So you don't have to go anywhere physically; you can do things remotely. And what XTEND is trying to do is actually create that interface between humans and machine, actually allowing us as humans to interact in the most immersive way possible in real time with endless applications, for endless markets from remote. It's from security, allowing basically security personnel to do things from remote, virtual sightseeing, virtual gaming, basically anything that you can do from your sofa, from your home. We're going to allow you to do that in the most effective way possible.
It reminds me a little bit of the Wall-E movie, where you have people just sitting back and just enjoying the world, but it was a pretty bad depiction of where humanity can go. Paint me a picture of where humanity can go with these sorts of technologies and experiencing what is made possible that will benefit humanity and society that is not made possible today with our limitations of just being human.
I mean, the first thing that we're trying to do is actually make an impact. So why risk yourself as a police officer or as a fireman going into a burning building yourself
Yeah.
with a suit if you can do it from remote? You're sitting in your truck, you put VR on your head and you're flying into a burning building. You're finding survivors, you're giving them a bottle of water, you try to extinguish the fire itself, and everything is done using our technology. So man-machine interface. That's the core. I mean, above that, yeah, you can have fun. You can go and see the safari in South Africa. You can go and see waves in Puerto Rico. But the core of the technology actually allows you to interact with a remote machine and actually make you feel like you're there.
Incredible. And obviously, there's dozens of applications, whether it be life-saving applications, experiential applications. But I want you to take me back to your 10 years old entrepreneurial experience. And what I'd love to understand from these different experiences that you've had, what are you drawing to your work today, whether it be, from the different ventures you've built to Replay to breaking a satellite?
You're asking what's in the middle? What makes it all happen? What's the
Well,
core?
I want to hear a little bit about your journey, and then
Yeah.
from those experiences, from each of those experiences, what is the big lesson or the key takeaway that you've taken with you that you're bringing now to extend?
I would say that first of all, obviously, like everything else, you learn from each day that you pass. I mean, from every experiences, from every company you build, from every failure that you have, you're learning from it, and you're running forward with a backpack filled with new types of tool sets and experiences. Specifically for me, the whole story of my first business at the age of 10. I guess it's something in my head, right? I was born that way. I have to create. I have to build something all the time. I can't just stand in place. And that kind of drives me. Even today, we're not a small company anymore. Extend is already 50 people, 60 people. We always have to create. We always have to be in front of everyone else, trying to innovate. Just trying to be the best as we can in everything that we do.
And so, what were some of those businesses at 10 years old that you started?
So my first business, at least the first one that I remember, or the one that my parents remember, is so my parents bought me a parakeet at the age of 10. I was living in a town called Rishon LeZion, and I didn't really know what to do with that. It's a bird inside a cage. It doesn't make any sense. It's useless. So what I did is I bought another one and I started to replicate them. Once I had like 50 or 60 or 100, I started to sell them all over Israel. I remember Saturdays my mother was taking me with a big cage inside the car, basically selling birds or across Rishon and Ziona and Tel Aviv, and I was making quite a lot of money that age.
Very, very, very cool. And take me to when you broke a satellite. Well, how does one get the opportunity to actually do that?
It wasn't on purpose, and I'm really sorry it happened. But so something that happens in the Israeli Defense Forces, that you get a lot of responsibility at a very young age. So I was an aerospace engineer. At the age of 22, 23, I had the opportunity of leading a satellite launch into space. Israel is a very unique country. It's the only country in the world that actually sends a satellite into space in the opposite direction of the Earth. It's crazy. I mean, the Earth spins one way, and we don't use its rotation. We send the satellite the other way, just because we don't want to send satellites over Iraq and Iran. So we send it
Wow,
towards the west, towards Europe, right?
I had no
And
idea.
what Yeah, we're crazy that way, I guess. And what
Yeah.
happened is that the booster that sends the satellites into space has three phases. The third phase failed, and actually that satellite crashed somewhere near Europe, near Italy. I was the satellite launch manager. So imagine like this NASA environment, with like 200 people. You have to say, you have to push the red button and say, destroy. So that was a
Wow.
very. I have a lot of scars from that day. I changed roles. I changed jobs afterwards, but it's a life experience, right? And
I
obviously, it
can
wasn't
only
my fault. So
I can only imagine
yeah,
what a life experience this has. Going back to this idea of extended reality.
yeah.
We're definitely talking here about something that we don't see in our day to day yet. We're starting to with extend, but this is not something that is entirely mainstream. Can you explain to me a little bit the rationale that you entered building this
The
company?
space.
Obviously,
Yeah.
you're coming with background in a lot of different areas that are relevant to this. But what is sort of the thesis that you're really understanding as you're building this out?
So let me take you back to the area of 2010.
Please.
I was working for a UK company called Thales in a city called Leicester, two
Hmm.
hours north of London. And one day I was sitting with a friend of mine, a guy called Oren, in a pub. We were drinking beer, obviously, the UK after a hard day work, and we saw a game, football game. I don't know, Manchester or whatever. We don't remember the teams. And Oren said to me, "Wouldn't it be amazing to see the game from the eyes of the goalie?" And I told him, "Let's do it. It sounds like a challenge. No one
Huh.
is doing it." let's create a technology that allows you to see the game from the eyes of the players themselves. We took a napkin, we wrote down some ideas, some drone ideas, some video graphics ideas, and 4 years later, we actually broadcasted in the 54th Super Bowl in Santa Clara the game from the eyes of the quarterback live during the Super Bowl, and we even got an Emmy Award for it. So
Wow.
that was like a big tick in the box, Like, hey, Oren, remember that day in that pub? Big tick in the box.
Holy crap.
uh,
Wait, I have to understand a little bit better. How does that actually work? What do you mean
so,
from the eye of the quarterback?
so what we did in Replay is we created a technology called volumetric video. We actually allowed, we placed static cameras around a venue. And what we did is we actually created reality using 3D video. So all the pixels inside the scene are made from 3D pixels. We call them voxels. And think about it like a big scanner. So you can actually create a camera angle from everywhere in the court. So
Wow.
why not create a camera angle from the eyes of the quarterback?
Right.
That was the idea. It happened. We had no idea how to make money out of it. Zero. I mean, how can you make money out of showing a game from the eyes of the quarterback? So we actually became a VR company very early on, just because we thought it would be very cool to put VR on your head and fly behind Messi or whatever. And eventually, we became the one of the best VR companies in the world, actually creating content for VR. We sold the company to Intel, roughly $200 million in 2016. The company is still
Wow.
running, Intel Sports. So this is how we entered, to your question, the world of extended reality. Someone puts VR on their head and flies into a venue somewhere in the world. And to that extent, we do something similar. Just the only difference is there is a machine at the end. There is a
Right.
drone, there is a car, there is a boat. You put your VR and you connect to that machine, and you're actually there. You move it very easily. You hear. You can talk. You can interact with reality. So it's a whole new experience that allows you to do things in a whole new way.
Right.
We call it telepresence. We call it extended reality. We call it a lot of fancy words. At the end of the day, it's a very effective way of doing today for professionals to do very such things that you wouldn't do that you wouldn't want to do physically.
Right.
For example, soldiers. For example, a building inspector, he has to fly high and go inside a building, and so on.
And so obviously, the applications of this are countless.
Mhm.
It raises questions as well. Questions that we all occupy ourselves with. I know that many philosophy classes in academia occupy themselves with that. What are some questions that you're asking yourself as you're building this out? Whether it's morals, ethics, philosophical, how much does that play out into your planning? Because you are literally pioneering a new way of interacting with the world, which is the integration of humans and machines in the same playground. And it's not that everybody's going to transition to machines together. Some are going to transition earlier than others.
So I think today this market, this drone VR robotics market, is where the computers market was in the 70s. There's no
Mm,
standards. There's no Windows. Everything is DOS like.
yeah.
To those who know what DOS is, and I think that we're actually trying to create a standard. We're trying to build an operating system that allows operators to actually control remote machines. We call
Mhm.
it the Extend OS, Extend Operating System. It's built around very sophisticated technology that basically allows you to do basic things like go to a waypoint, land, take off, and so on. But there's an additional layer that actually allows to empower the operator. Why don't I, pick up something? Why don't I fly through a window? A lot of things that you wouldn't be able to do in any other way unless you're a very, very high proficient drone operator, and most people are not. And this is the first barrier of entry for this market, and we actually solved it. So it's an amazing achievement for us. And the problem is right now, how do you focus on the right place, on the right market? That's the
I was
biggest
going to
problem.
ask that. What are considerations that come into play as you're deciding which segment to actually go and tackle? Some of them are more technologically difficult. Some of them are more lucrative in terms of of business. Some of them are easier for adoption. How do you decide?
So we look at obviously market size, the TAM and the SAM, but we look very strongly at regulation. This field is very limited by regulation. You cannot fly a drone above 250 grams, above people, and so on and so on.
Right.
So regulation is a very hard point in terms of barrier for entry. We also look at what makes us wake up in the morning, right? you know
Right.
so for example, inspection, boring, right? I mean, why build a company around inspection, right?
Right.
So today we're creating these we call it Skylord. It's the best games in the defense market. Think about soldiers with VR. We fly today at above 150 kilometers per hour in the sky, inside buildings.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Wow.
It's like the best game you ever played in your life, and we actually use
Holy
it to
crap.
save lives. So it's fun.
That's
Um,
incredible.
yeah, so it gets us excited. You save human lives. You actually make an impact. But what's the next step? What do we do after defense? Do we do something after defense? Do we build a defense company only? So we decided very early on that Extend is let's call it a holding company that has a defense company called Skylord and another company called the telepresence company. We are trying to kind of juggle a few balls in the air.
That's really really cool. Now, as you're building this company out and you're obviously creating a culture around it and you're working on some really cutting edge technology, what is the reception of people around you that are actually starting to use these products? Do you find that it's becoming a second nature to them? Is this something that is easy to understand and to actually adopt as a part of an operation? Right, because then this is starting to become, a default, I guess, in the mainstream operations that people will be doing, whether it's for military purposes, for life-saving purposes. What is the adoption like?
So I'm happy to say that this market is quite young to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
So our market education is relatively small.
Right.
I can tell you we had a workshop with let's call it customers in the U.S. Department of Defense, and
Mm-hmm.
they were like, we're not changing our ways. When we go to a building, there's a certain way we go into a building, right? There's someone
Right.
going in with a gun in front of him, two guys going in the back, and so on. So they were they were not sure this is gonna change their their mode of operation. After 2 hours, obviously all of them knew how to fly like experts. It takes about 5 minutes. And after the workshop, they basically told us there is no way we're doing it differently. I mean, this is the only way to go. It's not only that we save lives; it's much more effective. This drone can recognize, cyber. Right? It can recognize, things in the building with thermal imaging. It's a much more effective way of actually doing things.
Very, very
So
cool.
yeah.
And obviously, if we were to do this episode in a year or two, it would look different, as it looks different than if we were to do it a year or two before. And I'm just thankful that I got to be to pick your brain in a tiny place, in the middle of this journey. That obviously we'll be looking back at this in like 10, 15 years, and whether it's Extend or whether it's other companies, this field is going to be crazy. And obviously this is the future, and I'm really excited for where we're headed. And so thank you for taking the time to share this with me. I have a few more questions for you, Aviv, and I want to take you back more about yourself and back to your childhood. Obviously, starting entrepreneurship at 10 years old, what really fascinated you as a kid as you were going around the world? What was really sparking your curiosity?
So I was actually I lived in London in the US in Israel. I was actually traveling a lot when I was young, but as far as I can remember my childhood, I always loved to build things. I love to take things apart like a broken television set and build something out of it. So I was always I like to call it I was always a creator. Always loved to invent things.
Very,
Um,
very cool.
and back in the day, I invented things which are more basic, and today it's a bit more sophisticated. Volumetric video, extended reality.
And what inspires you today in your day-to-day world, whether it's, the small stuff or whether it's like a bigger idea of where this world is headed?
Basically, what inspires me, I would say, the most thing is people. I love taking a group of people and creating this synergy. So I had 4 startups until today. All of them started with people and not with an idea, not with a problem to solve. And these people together, we said, let's do something together. Let's make the world a better place. Let's solve a problem. And I love that. I love the fact that 3, 4 people get together, and 1 year later they have a company that actually does something and actually makes an impact. That's
And,
amazing for me.
and as you're bringing these people together, are you intentionally you're describing a process that you envision, which will be ideating together, trying out things together, and deciding on which company to build, and it's a different group every time?
So I'm working with my brother in the last 3 companies out of 4.
Wow.
But I always I like to work with people I love, people I get along with, friends. XTEND was started, me and good friend of mine, Nadir Tubi. We were just friends. We met at a pub. We just said, let's think about something, and XTEND happened. So
I love it. Very, very cool. And Aviv, what are 3 words you would use to describe yourself?
um, I would say that I'm a creator.
Mm-hmm.
As I mentioned before, very, very curious. So I'm,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a curious guy. And the third word, G. I want to say super. I'm super devoted. If I take something, I'm not gonna let it go until it's done. I don't know if it's in one word.
I'll take it, and
Passionate. I don't know.
I think it's even more than passionate. It's somebody used a word recently. I'll have to think about it and get back to you. But which described this idea that you will just won't give up until it happens, and
Yeah.
and you won't be able to nudge. And I can definitely resonate with you myself. Thank you
Yeah.
very, very much. Relentless. That is I think the
Yeah.
word.
I'm relentless. That's a good word.
I think that's the word. Aviv, toda
All
rabba.
right.
Thank you very, very
Toda,
much.
Michael.
Best of luck with Extend, and thank you for the time.
Bye bye. Bye everyone.